Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Arpit Badjatya. Arpit, welcome to Impact Toastmasters Club.
Thank you, Sneha, for that warm introduction. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be amongst all of you here. I thank the Toastmaster community for inviting me to speak on one of my favorite topics, the cut, color, and carat of impactful communication. I am a teetotaler, but let's definitely raise a Zoom toast to all the Toastmasters and everyone present here. So cheers to that. And let us start with a little imagination exercise. So I would urge all of you to picture a diamond in your mind, right? And when you see it sparkle, you obviously see something beautiful and valuable. But what you do not see is how it began. Deep in the earth, rough and uncut. Communication is the same. None of us start off polished. We all begin rough, unsure, nervous, cluttered in our messaging at the start. But with the right shaping, our words can shine and hold incredible value. So I promise you one thing today. By the time we are done, you will know how to shape your own diamond of communication using the same 3 C's that define a diamond: the cut, the color, and the carat. But before we move on, I would like to ask in the chat, who here has ever felt nervous before a speech? I'll pause for some of your answers. Who has felt nervous before their speeches? So I see Rishabh raising their hand, Andrew, Ashutosh, Nikhilesh. All right, so we see quite a few. And I would say that's our rough diamond stage. So it's good we are there, but there is a journey that all of us can travel using some of the principles that I hope to elucidate in the upcoming session. And then we can go on to be much more polished in our approach. So none of us start polished, but we can all shine is the belief with which I would like to start our journey here. So as a CEO, as you would imagine, I spend a lot of my time, probably more time communicating than doing anything else. I talk to my teams, I talk to customers, I talk to investors. And over the years, I've realized that communication is a superpower. But like a diamond, its brilliance depends on how you shape it. So how can one make communication impactful? That's the question we are here to ponder on. That's the question that I have been thinking about ever since Sneha invited me for this session. And that's the one that I would like to share my real life journey on the topic about. So let's break it down. How can we make our communication impactful? So the first one, the cut. The brilliance of a diamond comes from its cut. All of us know that. A poorly cut diamond looks dull, no matter how large. So it could be the Kohinoor, it could be a smallest diamond, but the brilliance will come from how it is cut. And the same is true for our speeches. Without clarity, our speech will not shine. It does not shine. So, I recall I once sat in a meeting when a young manager presented an idea for 15 minutes. He kept going on and on with a lot of passion, but by the end, no one could tell what he was asking for. At the same time, a few minutes later, another manager came up. He took a similar idea, pitched it in about 3 minutes, crystal clear, and got an approval from the entire quorum instantly. That, my friends, is the power of cut. So, here's how you cut your communication. Point number 1, We must trim the excess, which would mean we have to go simple, direct, remove jargons and fillers as far as possible, and stick to the basics. And let me do a quick exercise here, from rough to brilliant. How do we trim the edges? So, as you can all read, and I'll take a moment here to pause, the first paragraph is a jargon filled paragraph, which I would call a rough diamond. So, in light of an increasingly volatile macroeconomic environment, our organization must recalibrate its strategic imperatives to focus on high impact deliverables. Leveraging a robust ecosystem of partners will catalyze scalability across underperforming verticals and so on. Right? This approach will cement our market leadership in an era of disruption. Great words, probably great intent, but does it really bring home the point? Does it really resonate with the audience? In an era where, and I have huge respect for the likes of Shashi Tharoor, Veer Das, in an era where they are glorified and they are blessed with incredible communication skills and sometimes vocabulary is overemphasized, I would not go down that path. And I would say the diamond of communication needs to be brilliant rather than rough. And this same jargon filled paragraph, for example, can be put in a very simplified manner, which is written at the bottom to say, we'll concentrate on our most valuable projects and work with strong partners to grow. Using flexible tools, adopting dynamic KPIs and new technologies will help us move quickly with the change and cement our leadership position. These two sentences pretty much say the exact same thing as the 5 sentences above. And I would imagine that that is perhaps, and definitely to my mind, a better way to communicate with clarity. So trimming the excess is definitely one of the areas where we need to define the cut of our communication. Let's come to the second point in this, on the cut idea. How do we shape the core? So whenever we communicate in any setting, the idea is to basically land 1 to maybe 3 messages through our communication, not more, right? Every piece of communication is about one idea. So whenever you're starting to communicate, I would urge all of you to think, what's your one big idea? And then really tailor your communication, your messaging around it. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, in an urge to communicate, I have seen us all making mistakes where we slip on the big idea, but we are talking about a bunch of words. So let me give you an example from real life. This is what has happened at Serosoft Academia. This is how we have learned to cut our own diamond. So when we pitch our platform to a new university, it's very tempting to talk about every single feature we have built. We have a large engineering team. We are investing a lot of time into building this product. We're all passionate about the features we build. So it's quite tempting to talk about every single feature. And during our early presentations, which used to be 40, 50 slides long, we would typically use everything around admissions, grading, analytics, payments, you name it, for a typical university. But what we noticed is the decision makers were getting overwhelmed and they forgot most of it by the end of the meeting. So what we decided is to start shaping the core. Instead of showing everything, we pick one key problem the institution cares about or 2 problems and share how we can solve that brilliantly. With just this slight change, suddenly our pitches became memorable. They'd leave the meeting, the customers, saying, well, they are the ones, Serosoft Academia are the ones who can fix our admissions mess or the fees mess. So basically, by shaping the core, we made the message stick. So the second part of the cut is, to my mind, shaping the core well by sticking to the big idea. Now, diamonds are known to reflect light, and that, in my view, is the third and most important way to define the cut, to reflect light. And what is reflecting light? Basically, there is a message that you're giving, by shaping your core, but then reflecting that light is about reinforcing your key message in simple, memorable ways. So, to echo our key point in different ways throughout the conversation, right? So, how we do it, I'll give you an example. So, when we go to a university, let's say, and we build ERP systems for university, we build softwares for them. When talking to a university about admissions efficiency, we might show them a quick stat and then follow it up with a quick success story from another institution to say, hey, this is what they did with academia, this is the change that they got. And then immediately to follow, then give a live demo of how that process actually works in the software. So it's the same point, faster, more efficient admissions, but reflected in three different ways. And this repetition doesn't feel nagging, it feels like a confirmation. And by the end of the meeting, most customers end up repeating our message back to us. So that's what it means to reflect light. Basically, shining our core message so that it can sparkle from multiple angles. I hope my point is clear around this. So I would give a mini exercise now. And there's a couple of places where I'll definitely like to get some feedback from the audience here. So I would ask you to think of something that you're passionate about, maybe a project, a dream job, a dream vacation. And now, if you had 15 seconds to pitch it to your dream audience, what would you say? Right? And let's maybe, if I can, let me pick on someone here, as long as it doesn't make them uncomfortable. But maybe Sneha, we come to you. What's one thing that you're really passionate about? A project, a dream job, and how would you say it in 15 seconds?
Well, I'm passionate about writing, so I would like to publish my book with a leading publisher, Indian publisher. So this is how I would say it, probably, just direct, straightforward way. I would
Absolutely.
like to get my book published with Penguin. Maybe that's how.
Okay, so absolutely. So Sneha here is sticking to the core message, the specifics, and that's what the cut is, the polished version of the diamond of communication, right? And you would often find people who will go around the subject, talk everything, but at the end of it, you would not understand it. It is the book published by Penguin that is the objective. So very clear that way from a cut perspective, right? So that's the cut of our communication. Moving on, we go to the color. The second C is color. As all of you know, diamonds come in different shades. That's what makes them really unique. You have seen the white diamonds, you've seen some very zany colors as well, and it starts to get even more pricey as we go with different colors other than white because they are rarer. And your communication is the same. It's not just what you say, but how you say it. And that is exactly the color. So, what is color? The color is the tone, the energy, the authenticity, right? And I'll pick up authenticity here, right? People can sense when you're faking it. I've seen pitches that were flawless in words, brilliant vocabulary, but the speaker's tone was flat, like they'd be at just a plain coffee shop. And guess what? If you do not believe in your message, no one else will. And that to me is the hallmark of authenticity. So, what are the ways in which we can bring color to our communication? So, this is my second big point today. How can we bring in more color to our communication? So, first of all, I would say that be authentic. Do not put on a mask. Speak in your natural voice because that's unique to you and that's what will make you stand out. Second is showing emotion. Now, excitement, urgency, empathy, these are all emotions, these are your colors. And at the end of the day, it is the emotion that will start to make a difference and get to the deeper echelons of a listener's heart. And that is why showing emotion is extremely important. Varying your tone, varying your emotion, going with the flow are all ways in which, emotions make a significant difference. We have all gone through school, and we all remember that one teacher or two teachers that had the most influence on us. And I was thinking back, why would that be the reason? Was it the knowledge of the teacher? Or was it the way she delivered the message? Or was it the way she or he was so organized about it? But then you can pretty much trace it back to the fact that they probably showed the best and the most emotion in the way they communicated with students. And that's why they made a lasting impact on the students in class. So showing emotion in different ways during your communication makes it a lot more human, a lot more connectable than if you were to go flat. And that brings me to the third point, which is connecting and matching our tone to our audience's mood. So we know that there are different settings that we have to speak in, and those different settings will obviously invite a different mood from the audience, which then must be matched in a good way with the tone of the speaker. That's one way of connecting with the audience in a fantastic manner. And that's what makes our communication a lot more human, a lot more relatable with the audience. So that to me is what the second C, the color, stands for. And speaking further, the power of tone. Let's do an exercise, right? So I will again invite someone from the audience as a volunteer. Who would it be? It's a simple exercise. Don't be anyone. Okay, I see two people raise their hand. I'll take the first one. President Rishabh, maybe we'll go with you, and then Shashank and Naina. So simple exercise is this. So Rishabh, you can unmute yourself, and I would invite you to say hello in two different tones, right? The first hello would be about like if you're greeting your best friend after a year. And the second hello would be if someone woke you up early in the morning and when you say you're annoyed, right? So let's do this exercise on the tone. Rishabh, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, the first one, when you're greeting your best friend after a year.
Hello, how are you?
All right. And the second one, which is when someone woke you up early and you're really annoyed.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm coming.
absolutely. So same word, two completely different colors. We'll go to Shashank as well. Shashank, let's do it with you as well.
Thanks. So same word.
Yeah.
All right. So in the first case, hello, how are you? And when it comes to the second case, hey, hi.
So difference in tone, difference in energy, and the same word, but can communicate so much more with the tone and the intonation. And we'll go with Nana, and maybe Nana, you can use another word. You can just say bye to a stranger and bye to a friend who you just met and had coffee with.
So if it is a stranger, I'll say bye.
Yeah.
And if it's a close friend or someone whom I know, bye bye. See
Yeah.
you again.
Obviously. So that warmth in your tone sets the meaning very, very differently for such a setting. So that to me is the power of tone. And finally, this message, which I would like to share with you, people may not remember what they heard, what they saw, what they experienced as well. But people will certainly remember how you made them feel. And that is the power of tone. And the second C in this 3 C's of communication, the color of impactful communication. Moving on to our third C, which is carrot. So the third C is carrot. As you all know, bigger carrot means bigger value. To my mind, in communication, this means substance. So I would urge you not to confuse weight with length. A 20-minute ramble and as we have just spoken about it, adds no value. But a 2-minute story can be unforgettable. As a leader, I've seen entire strategies decided by one powerful story in our boardroom or one strong insight. That's carrot. And where does carrot come from? So to my mind, carrot comes from 3 very interesting aspects. They stick longer than data. Number 2, insights. They give people a fresh way of seeing the world in a very different manner, a different angle of seeing the same light. When you look at a diamond, you see it from one angle, you will see a different color. You see it from another, you might see another color. So just giving people a fresh way of seeing the world can be very, very moving. And finally, carrot comes from relevance. It comes from speaking to what matters to them and not what just matters to you, right? And I will unpack this further for you. So how do we add these weights to our words? So moving on to the stories aspect. To my mind, stories turn abstract ideas into something people can feel. And I'll give you an example. In our business, we have learned that case studies are far more powerful than brochures or feature lists when selling to educational institutions. So what I mean by that is, instead of simply presenting numbers or specifications of our product, what the features do, we tell the story of how a similar college or a university solved a pressing problem using our solution. It could be how they boosted student engagement, how they streamlined their admissions, how did they cut administrative costs. And these stories help decision makers see themselves in the narrative, turning an abstract product into a tangible outcome. Because the data supports our claims, that's why the story gives it life and makes it believable. So we have realized that institutions don't just want information. They want to know what success looks like, and a well-told case study does exactly that. So that is putting stories into play to help people understand abstract ideas and help them actually feel your point rather than just listen to it. Right? So that's my first point. The second one is on insights. So insights open minds by challenging people what they already know. And I'll give you an example. I was speaking to a group of our sales managers about performance. So instead of presenting a lot of charts, I asked them, who here thinks their best sales person makes the most calls, right? So I asked them do you think that the best salespersons are the ones who make the most calls? And most people in the team raised their hands. They said, yes, the best salespersons are the ones who make the most calls. And then I showed data proving that the top performers actually made fewer calls, but spent twice as long understanding each client. It shifted their thinking overnight. So what I gave as an insight was success wasn't about volume, but it was about depth. And that insight changed the entire sales strategy. After that, we adopted a framework called BANT in our company. And the idea was not to do more, it was to do more with less. It was to go deep rather than wide. And it was to lead with insights rather than just with volume. So that's about insights. And the third place where Carat comes from, the substance comes from, is relevance. It is obvious, and all of us understand in this room, that people will listen harder when it affects when it's relevant. And what's my example here? So I was just thinking back about relevance, and I remember that I once gave a presentation to a room full of engineers about a new product strategy, new way of working. My first version when I spoke was about revenue, market share, and they seemed to be disinterested. They could not relate to it. Then I said there has to be a better way of presenting it, and I reframed it. I showed how the product that we adopt or this new technology that we adopt would cut their development and testing time in half and let them work on more innovative projects. And suddenly they were leaning forward. They were asking questions. The difference wasn't the content was exactly the same. It was relevance. So I spoke their language and they listened. So these three pillars are extremely powerful to make sure that we really land our message in a way that creates an impact, that creates the carrot, the substance of it. And to recall, it is stories, insights, and relevance. So again, a quick interactive moment with all of you. Think of a movie or a book that has stayed with you for years together. What's that story? Drop it in the chat. So what's one story or book, the movie that has stayed with you? I see very interesting answers. I see Sholay, I see Guru, I see The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini, I see Holes, Think and Grow Rich, Three Idiots, Swades. Why do you think this stayed with you longer than other stories or movies? Does anyone want to venture a response based on what all we have discussed so far? So someone is saying clear message. We were able to relate to it. Absolutely. The way it made me feel. Reshma says that. Yeah. So it's a combination of it. And that to me, connect, yes, that to me is the carrot. It's the weight of the story really outlasting the details. So you may not remember the graphic details of the movie or the story that you read or the movie you saw, but it is really the carrot, the weight of that entire narration that left a lasting impact on you. And that applies exactly the same way in spoken communication. Yeah. So thanks for your responses to the audience. So I think so far we have covered the cut, which refers to clarity, the color, which refers to authenticity and emotion, and the carrot, which is the impact. And when the three C's align, magic does happen. They make your communication priceless. And your communication will not just sparkle with this, it will actually become priceless. So this is your diamond checklist. You know, I would urge all of you, before you have an opportunity to speak or engage in spoken communication, please remember to ask yourself these three questions, your cheat sheet, your checklist. Have I cut my speech? Have I added color? And does it have carrot? And I would leave you with a thought to think about which of these three C's do you need to improve the most in your communication methodology? Because some of us are naturally gifted with maybe words, maybe with emotion, but maybe we lack the substance. Or some of us are blessed with a lot of knowledge, the substance, but we lack the connectivity, the emotion. But it is when all these three that come together, that's when magic really happens. So, as young public enthusiasts, you're not just learning how to give a speech at Toastmasters and at other places, you're shaping your own diamond. Every time you speak, do remember that you're cutting, coloring, and adding carrot to your voice. So I would encourage you to let your words sparkle by speaking with clarity, authenticity, and impact. And I would leave you with this thought where I believe that mastering spoken communication isn't about impressing people, it is about impacting them. And if we keep this thought while we are preparing, while we are doing our homework, I do believe that our communication would be that much more effective. So I would also like to add that unlike real diamonds, this sparkle that will come from the 3Cs doesn't need insurance. And you all have the power to speak with clarity, authenticity, and impact. And when you do, your voice won't just be heard, it will be remembered. So that's been my time. Thank you for your patient listening. I'm opening it up for questions, and then I would be happy to wrap up the session for today.
Thank you so much, Arpit, for sharing those powerful insights with us. And I've summed up your session in 3 words. CUT stands for articulation, color for rhetoric or authenticity, and carrot stands for substance or concreteness. So that's my understanding, the crux of the entire session that we had with you today. Now, I would like to open the session for Q&A. It's your turn, dear audience. We would love to hear from you, your questions, reflections, takeaways. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the questions, raise your hands, and Arpit will be glad to respond. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for this wonderful session regarding the 3 Cs of communication. So my question is regarding how important is body language and posture, as we see a lot of leaders like the world leaders, like shaking their hands or hugging each other or like any other gestures or postures which play a crucial role. And there is a lot of analysis also done by the news channels and other social medias. So what is your view on that, sir?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Sanchit. I think what I've focused today is more on the verbal communication, but what you raised as a point is the non-verbal communication of how we use body language gestures to communicate. And I would say that is definitely an integral part if I were to extend my analogy to the color of communication. Because using gestures, you're creating a sense of emotion, if I may say, of urgency, of action orientedness, etc. I would say that's an extension of the color of communication. It's vitally important. Obviously, my topic relates to also impactful communication in the digital age, which includes communication over media like Zoom, etc., where a lot of your hand gestures, etc., don't play a pivotal role. But in person, as has always been said, non-verbal communication is sometimes even more important than the verbal communication.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I see Reshma. I'm going in the order of the hands that I see on my participant list. So Reshma next,
Yes, sure.
and then Amit.
Arpit, it was a mind-blowing session. Thank you so much for all your inputs. My question is that how can we make our content powerfully relevant in this day and age where everything, the content is overflowing?
Absolutely. And I think that you've asked me the carrot question pretty much. And, if I go back to how do we make the message powerful, I think that comes from using stories, using insights and relevance. And if we combine all these three, the power of communication gets unleashed. Because talking of stories since childhood, you see that children are most connecting to stories, and that trait stays with us throughout our lives. There's a reason why 99% of us like going to movies and watching them as one of our best way of entertainment. It's all about storytelling. It's also about the insights that we bring, because as I said, if you push people to think in a direction which they had just completely missed, they will remember your communication much more than if you were saying the mundane. And then relatability, being in their shoes and understanding from their perspective and then communicating to them with that kind of an understanding really unleashes the power. So I would say the carrot of it is what really stands out for powerful communication in a world where, yes, you're right, inundated with technology, verbiage, verbosity, so much of content all around us. But as you can imagine, the content that gets viral or the content that really speaks to people would borrow the principles that we have talked about today.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Amit.
Thank you, sir. It was pleasure to attend this thought-provoking session from you. I was just curious to know that being the CEO and co-founder, being the CEO and founder of such a leading firm, how do you manage to polish communication and how do you keep yourself updated in this era? And like at the moment you are flying, at the moment you are working, you have so much to do. So just wanted to know how do you manage yourself?
As a CEO, I'm blessed with many opportunities for forums like this, right? Which keeps my practice going. And I think practice makes perfect. There is no doubt about that. You really can sharpen your axe with a lot more practice. And as a CEO, I'm getting those opportunities when I speak to customer forums, when I speak to my teams. We have the bi-monthly town hall in our company. We have sessions like this today on Zoom where I'm invited as a speaker. I think there is this constant practice that I get, and that keeps me going. The second, I think, is very important, even with or without the practice, is the homework and the preparation you do for this. So, for today's talk, I probably spent the last 5 to 6 days thinking about what I would speak, putting it into a PowerPoint deck, thinking about some of the examples that I quoted from my corporate experience to make it even more relatable for everyone. And so I think it's the practice and the homework or preparation that really gets the things going, in short.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Rishabh next.
Yes. Thank you so much, Arpit. The session was really insightful, and it will definitely help us polish our speech like a diamond. My question to you is regarding the color of the speech, and specifically on the emotion part which you told us. I want to hear some tips and techniques which you use to showcase your emotions whenever you are delivering a speech or something.
Okay. So I think it's just being authentic, true, and if some and delivering from the heart, right? So the emotions will come from the heart. And if you feel strongly about a certain point, the audience will sense the passion without you having to really make an effort to do that. If there's something funny you're saying, that laughter or that lightheartedness will come through. If there's something that really doesn't sit well with you, I think the displeasure or the discomfort will come through. So I think using a range of points in the speech, and then really being authentic about how you feel about them, will naturally lend emotion to how you say. That's the first part. I think that's the more difficult part, because content also plays a role in the emotion that is elicited. The second part, which I think is easy, which can come with practice, is definitely, some bit of intonation, lowering your volumes, raising it, using speed, being like that cricket bowler. You have to vary your speed. You have to bowl a few slow balls. You have to bowl the faster one. You have to bowl the googly once in a while. I think that can be more deliberate. And I think you can definitely practice that to perfection. But adding emotion by way of content and how you feel strongly about has to be your authenticity and your authentic voice, rather than using a rehearsed mask, as I shared with you earlier.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Nena, and then Renuma.
Wonderfully explained 3 C's, which I believe that if we get to know all these things, if we get practically apply, speaking skills will become very nice. My query here is that what we should do on daily basis to work on these 3 C's, because I believe that will not come on the spot, or that will not come even with a 10 days preparation. But what we should do daily so that we can excel on these 3 C's.
I think just being deliberate about the fact that you want to improve. So I think with the media that we have, even with the Facebook, Instagram reels that we get, there's always a thing or two that we can borrow from other speakers. So being deliberate about it, when you're listening to a Kapil Sharma versus when you're listening to a Donald Trump, or when you're listening to Barack Obama, I rate Barack Obama very high in terms of his spoken communication. Well, that's an interview that's probably playing on BBC, but I think there's a leaf for you to borrow. So I think there is being deliberate about the fact that you want to learn, you want to improve. That first intent itself, that first step is very, very important. Second, as I said, finding forums to practice, and some of them will fall in your lap, some of them you can actually create. And third, preparation, which I've already answered in one of the questions. So I think the keeping the intent on at all times, because if you keep that intent on that I want to improve on these 3 C's, you will find opportunities even while watching a BBC interview or a laughter show or a Kapil Sharma show, on how he's using various parts of speech or intonation to create that impact on the audience.
Thank you, Arpit. It's really helpful.
Yeah, thank you. So I see Amit, or is that a legacy hand?
No, I guess it's done from my side. Still
Okay,
uploading.
Renuma, and then Amatullah.
Yeah, so that was a very informative session, sir. Uh, it's give us a lot of new ideas how we can be a effective communicator. So my question is, sir, many of us focus on the speaking skills, but often lack of the strong listening skills. So what do you think? Being a good listener is equally important to becoming a good communicator?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, communication way street. It's not a one way. Although our focus today in the session was about spoken communication. And so I have used a framework where we are talking as a speaker, primarily in a setting, and I've used that framework to really elucidate some of my points. But if you were to talk about your everyday communication and in different settings, you can never be a good communicator without being a good listener. I think the listening part comes before saying, and so there is no doubt that listening skills play an incredibly important role in making sure that you're able to communicate your messages. And it links to one of the points that I have raised, right? Relevance. You can never be relevant if you don't listen to other people. Then you're talking in your own tangent and the other person is in their own hemisphere. That crossing of paths, that resonance, that, resonating with the same frequency will never happen if you've just not listened to their point at all. So listening is key, but I probably didn't include it in my session today because I'm talking more about spoken communication, which is more one-way like. All right. So we go to Amatullah. Your voice is a little feeble. We can't hear you, Amatullah.
How is now?
Yes, better. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Arpit. How are
I'm
you?
very well, thank you.
Arpit, I had this doubt. I have had this little issue throughout school and even in college. Uh, when you ask a question, I am good at public speaking. I am good with communication in general. I'm good with personal and professional. But usually, what happens is when I ask a doubt to someone or a question, the main point of it, the main thing that I really want to ask just gets lost. They don't interpret it the way I want it to. I mean, they don't get what exactly I am asking, and it has happened a little more often. So I think I am the problem here, not them. How do I communicate as crisply as it can be that what I really want to ask, what the query is?
So you're saying sometimes when you ask questions, they are not able to get your question clearly. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they don't get the exact point that I'm trying to ask.
Okay. So Amatullah, I mean, I would say there's no straight answer to this. I think it's a combination of the points that I've raised today. It could be with the first part, which I said, which is, the cut part, which is being sharp about it. Maybe some of the questions may be long, winding. People are not able to understand what's the core of it. Second could be in some cases, which all of us have, we don't have the relevant vocabulary about a subject to ask. Maybe that could be one thing. The third is we are not asking it in a way which matches the overall context setting or mood of the whole thing. So there could be multiple flavors to it. Without having an exact example, it is, I would say, not possible to really say to really nail it or what's causing the problem. But I think a combination of this is what I would urge you to think about, these 2, 3 things. And then we can, if you'd like, if you have a couple of examples, you can always share it through your group and I'll be happy to give some suggestions from my side.
Okay, thanks a lot, Arpit. I'll try another hand at that.
Sure. We go to Sanjay. Sanjay and then Tausif.
Yes. Hi, Arpit. Am I audible?
Yeah, clearly.
Yes. So, thank you very much for this very knowledgeable session. And first of all, I would request you to show the last slide in which you mention your words don't need insurance. I want to note down it, but they can be practiced for this. Thank you very much. And I have a question, very quick question. I have heard many TEDx speakers. That is fine, but I have heard Les Brown, Tony Robbins, and Brian Tracy. How they manage to deliver more than 1 hour long speech. I heard Les Brown and I heard his speech. It was very long. So, is there any special strategy to mug up the whole speech? I don't understand what they really do. That's all. That's my question. Is
It's a very interesting question. And I think it's a mix, I would say, and this question has been raised about even our own Prime Minister, right?
Yes, yes.
Narendra Modi ji can sometimes deliver very long speeches without really needing to look at a paper.
Yeah.
Sometimes even the opposition has said it's probably a teleprompter, whatever, but it seems like he's delivering from memory or from. I think it's see, number one, I can tell you that
Mhm.
there are speeches which I can deliver, and I'm just talking from my example because that's the one I'm closest to. There are certain topics which I can talk about for an hour without looking at a piece of paper, and there are some for which I would have to look at some, some notes, some prompts. So
Mhm.
first is the subject
Sure.
mastery. I think it comes from that. If you're really the
Okay.
master of one subject, I do not think you will have to look at papers. You can pretty much organize your thoughts and deliver a long session because you have so much content or you have so much carrot on it, right? In my
Mhm.
analogy today. So you have so much content, so much substance, you have so much carrot around it that you can pretty much talk your way through without having to look at a piece of paper. And the second one is I do believe it's a muscle. Uh, and I can again talk from my example. Um, Over the
Mhm.
years, I've seen that I can, I would find it hard to deliver a 5-10 minute speech, 10-minute speech beyond without paper. And just by practice, preparation, and obviously probably more substance that we keep getting through our lives, reading, internalizing certain stuff,
Mhm.
I have become better. I can do like a 30-40 minute speech without looking at real prompts for myself. And this is, I'm talking from my own experience. So I think it's a muscle that has gotten better for me. It can get better for everyone. The ingredient is practice and preparation, which I've already said. And the third is obviously, which I started with subject mastery, which happens over time. So if there's a subject that you really are good at, you would tend to be able to speak without any help.
Okay, got it, got it. Thank you, Arpit.
Yeah. Thanks. Tosif? Okay. I think Tosif has,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
thank you, Mr. Arpit, for a very nice session with a big audience. Thank you very much. My question to you is, really want to know your leadership style. Who you follow in your professional journey or with your clients, and what do you believe leaders are born or leaders are made?
Okay, that's a very different topic. I definitely believe leaders can be made. So I'll answer the second part because, especially, um, there is a structure to leadership also, I believe. It's not really a personal charisma all the time. You can do the right steps, and leadership is about leading. There can be various leadership styles, but it's about a shared vision, a shared purpose, which people can be around. And definitely communication is one key part of it. But I think, as I said, communication is also a muscle you can improve. And so I think at some level, leadership can be learned too. What is my leadership style? It's hard to really put it in one way. People use words of democratic leadership style or autocratic leadership style or various other words. I find it hard to kind of straitjacket it in one. I definitely believe in listening to our people, our team, like listening to everyone and then taking a decision. So there is a fair bit of collaborative brainstorming that we do. And then after that, we do take decisions and then stick to it and move forward. So I think that's one way. Second is inspiring through shared purpose. Being vocal and deliberate about it. For example, there's a shared mission vision of our company which I talk about in every town hall of our company. Every once when we meet with the entire team, we would start with our shared mission and vision. And just by having a little more clarity about it, I think people feel more energized and more aligned. So I wouldn't say there's a big recipe that I follow. We're just doing the basics right in some form or shape of defining where we need to do, defining cleans, defining a shared purpose, hiring like-minded people, helping them remove obstacles, and then getting to success. So that would be my recipe if there is one. But thanks for asking that question. Gives me more food for thought for tonight.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, I see Sujit.
Yeah. Thank you for the great sessions. First of all, I really appreciate that. My question is, being an entrepreneur, which is most important for you, uh, or in other way, does it require balance in between all C's? That's what my question is. And one more link thing to it. Does title changes three C's balance also?
Good question. Which of the three C's is the most important? No, I definitely not take one because it's very clear. And as I've said, this clearly says that magic happens when all three come together, right? I've said this very clearly. It's the three C's aligning. So if you're talking about which one is more important, less important, I wouldn't say. It's also different. You might say which C is more important in a certain setting. That can always be done. But overall, I wouldn't want to pick one. You could say that if I'm addressing a town hall, which C as a customer and I'm trying to pitch our solution, then what matters more? And all of those. In a first meeting, I think when they're evaluating academia, they're probably looking for most cut, which is clarity around my communication. What does it do? What can it not do? They probably don't care as much about the authenticity in the first go, I would say. It's still important. And they obviously care about the carrot or the substance. So I would say cut and carrot would be more important in a sales pitch. But when I'm talking to my team, I think all three are important on a day-to-day basis, and so on. So I think I can't pick one setting. You could pick a few, and that depends on the setting exactly. And what was your second part of the question?
Yeah, I think it is linked to the first one. Means depending upon title, does three C's changes? So I think that is linked to
Yeah,
that.
to some extent, maybe. For example, the emotion may change when I'm talking to my investor versus when I'm talking to my team. Sometimes that emotion may change and how I use it in my conversation. I would say that part may change. Also, the way I would like to present to an investor may be different than what I would like to present to the team. So some of that may vary from setting to setting. I think it more varies from setting to setting rather than designation to designation. Because at some point of time, everyone's speaking to someone who's probably their peer, someone who's probably in a corporate hierarchy lower than them or up higher than them. I think that's true for me as much as it's for anyone else. So I think it's not about the title that much.
Got it. So it's more about what's the situation,
The
what
setting and the
exactly the
situation and the person you're communicating with. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your thoughts.
All right. I think is there one last hand?
No, I think it's Sujit only.
It's Sujit. Okay. I'll
Yeah.
lower. Okay, perfect. I think we've covered everything, and then I'd like to just leave you with this last message. It's a Pink Floyd song. It's a beautiful song. It says, "Shine on, you crazy diamond." And I would leave you with the same thought. I do believe all of us have the potential to sparkle. We're all crazy diamonds in our own way. All it might take is some effort, practice, preparation, and then we can all shine on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arpit, for addressing our audience with such clarity and for being that crazy diamond to us. To officially close the session and to express our gratitude, I would like to hand over the stage now to our very own Vice President Education, Toastmaster Ashutosh, for the vote of thanks. Over to you, Ashutosh.
Thank you so much, guest speaker Arpit. That was an insightful session, and I hope you all have taken a lot of takeaways. So, on behalf of Impact Toastmasters, Club, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to our guest speaker, Mr. Arpit Badjatya, for such an inspiring and insightful session on enhancing communication and leadership skills. Your practical tips and powerful strategies have truly given us valuable takeaways that we can apply in our journeys as speakers and leaders. I also extend my thanks to our club officers, members, and guests for your active participation and support in making today's educational session a success. Now, as a token of our appreciation, I request our President, Rishabh, to kindly present the certificate of appreciation to Mr. Arpit Badjatya.
Thank you, Ashutosh. First of all, Arpit, thank you so much for this session. It was truly insightful, and it will definitely help us polish our speeches just like a diamond. And definitely, maybe after the practice, we'll all be crazy diamonds in our own way, right? Yes. So once again, thank you. I'm going to present my screen for a moment so that I can present you with the token of appreciation.
I'll stop my share. Yeah.
So once again, thank you so much, Arpit, to deliver the education session on the cut, color, carat of impactful communication at Impact Toastmasters Club. We really appreciate you giving your valuable time to us.
Thank you. Toastmasters is a wonderful organization. And I think the kind of work you do and the kind of speaking skills and communication skills that you create across the world is inspiring. So yeah, it's happy. I'm happy that I could contribute 2 cents to this mission. And thanks for this token of gratitude from your side.
So I guess it's time we can now wrap up this session. If Arpit, if you have any more points to share with us or anything to conclude with, or Sneha, after that we can wrap this session up.
I'm good. I would just leave with, again, the same thought, shine on, you crazy diamond.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for making it to this session.